Right, who brought this one forward? I'm very disappointed in you, Darthair. That was a poor show by you. It's not like I get off on the horrific pain of playing horrible games, but by having punishment games, it puts that bit of edge on my challenge streams, because I know I'm in for a bad time if I fail. Failure with no punishment doesn't really add anything to an experience. But if all my punishment games are just that, then bleh. Anyway, Demolition Tank brings in this one here. Cookie Clicker. Just about anyone who plays games will surely have heard of this, but I've never played it. Doesn't seem my kind of game. I do play some incremental games, but I like them to be hands-on, and not ones that you just leave idle. Of note, I've been playing Magic Research lately. Magic Research 2, rather. Brilliant game. Oh, I love it. I beat the game almost 100%. There was one last little thing that would have required a lot of time for me to get. I didn't bother, but otherwise, oh, loved it. This one, however, nah. Got bad memories in my head of being at Paradox and seeing this on people's monitors just clicking away. I'm like, for God's sake, leave that stuff at home. So, I'm under the impression that to play this game, we click on the cookies, and we get a lot of cookies, and the whole point is just to make a ridiculous amount of cookies. So, I'll get clicking. Did you already beat the creator? Oh, I beat that one-winged, just about said something I shouldn't say, but yes, our one-winged creator friend is very dead. He called me all sorts of nasty things. Okay, so cursor auto-clicks once every 10 seconds. That's pretty pathetic. What does Grandma do? Grandma will bake more cookies. Mildred, 98. The geriatrics around. Flooding me with some useless achievements. So how does this work? Each cursor produces 0.1 cookies per second. Pick. Okay. So this is one that actually wants you to click a lot. I can't just click and hold and have it click for me. So repetitive strain injury on its way is what I would say if I wasn't a clever person who maps clicking to a little hotkey function on my mouse. I press the same button that would be, say, forward on the browser, and then it clicks about as fast as I could click. Actually, I'm not sure I can click 20 times a second. That's what I have it set to, right? Yeah. Sometimes I have it on 10, sometimes 20. Sometimes I accidentally leave it on, and then I wonder why things are going mental on my computer. Alright, Grandma. Grandma produces a cookie every second. Alright then, Granny, get producing me some cookies. Another tool-assisted run. If I'm the one playing, all the games are tool-assisted. I respect my body far too much to play games that need you to mash X to not die. If I see any game that just demands rapid input, I just throw in a macro for it and call it a day. How can you respect others when you can't respect yourself? Alright, surely, hopefully, there's more to it than this. We can get a farm, we can get carpal tunnel prevention cream. Mouse and cursors are twice as efficient. I don't think that's how it works. There we go, double up the cookies. How do we get these things anyway? Oh, 500 cookies. Why is that separate from the other things? It's too bad that the last couple of punishments are somehow even more boring than these two, says Frozen Kaiser. Well, it is not up to me, the punishment games that get submitted. It's extremely rare for me to use my privileged position to deny a punishment game. Usually only happens if I already know the game and know that it's not punishing. And not even know, I have to have played the game and already know that it's not punishing. Sometimes games just don't run on my computer though. Usually when they're very, very old. Speaking of very old, Mildred, get to work, and I want my farm. What does the farm do? Produces 8 cookies per second. There we go, so now it's growing just about as fast as I can click. but not quite, so we got the upgrades here. My punishment is peak unenjoyable real-time strategy janks as Frozen Kaiser. Cumbersome control schemes to boot. I'm sure if it were that good, then other people would also be joining you on that. But they don't, so maybe it's not. There's no timer. Oh yeah, good point. Good point. Where's my timer? By the way, I had to pay for this. I thought this game was free. But then when I went to go and set it up, I had to pay real money for it. Real money? How can this be? There's my timer. There's my timer. Usually what I like to do with the timer, actually, is I put an opacity layer on it and shove it in the corner. And then some people go, where's the timer? There's no timer. Alright. Let's get you started, shall we? Yeah, paying for this experience seems bizarre. We're gonna have a lot of time left over today. I was planning on heading down to the beach at some point, but not this early. I want to go down to enjoy the sunset. One of my preferred things to do here at Balaton. Assuming it's a clear evening, watching the sunset over the horizon by Lake Balaton feels good. Doesn't set over the water though, it's not that big a lake. The browser version is still free, I think. Okay, then I am the chump who is paying here. Sounds particularly sassy today. Well, there are things to sass today. That punishment game was dire, and not in the good punishing way, but in a real limp-wristed Canadian way. Grandma's twice as efficient. I don't really do enough grandmaing. Anyway, all of you go away. Hard to know what the best thing to go for here, isn't it? Oh, well, no, we can see. We're getting 9.2 cookies per second out of the cursors, 14 cookies per second out of the grandmas, and 24 out of the farms. But the costs are different, so I guess I'll invest in grandma here. Are they all... Oh, right, cool, they have different names. Mildred and Darling and Gam Gam and Tootsie and Agatha. Michelle? Pearl? Can't hear the name Pearl without thinking of that Louis Lassie in Phoenix Wright. Most of the characters in that game were a circus. Especially the clown. 110 plus, yeah. Some of them are getting on. Personally, I'd like to reach the age of 125, so my ideal version of myself already beats all those grannies on age. I think I heard that's like the theoretical max limit of human aging, 125, so I'd like to put that to the test. I mean, you'll be retired for half your life? That's pretty good. You'll be someone else's problem for a long, long time. Go my farms. Go my cursors. You'll be like a human prune by that age. Oh, maybe. We'll see how I age. Gracefully, I hope. The males in my family tend to do so. You see my granddad. Bit of a walking corpse, but he's still got that full head of sheet white hair. Best of all, Jake, they'll start celebrating your birthdays. Imagine that. I don't think it'll be a celebration. It'll be like that achievement in EU4, Die, Please Die. Does the background behind the grandmas mean anything, or is that just wallpaper? Looks like it's just framed photos and pictures of cookies. Was this the original clicker idle game, or was there something else, though? I never really got into the genre, so my finger isn't on that particular pulse. It certainly feels like when this game exploded, there were many copycats coming out, and even Steam had their thing, if we remember that. There was a Steam summer event which had an incremental game going. Wasn't very good though, it suffered heavily from latency. There was Clicker Heroes as well, far prefer Clicker Heroes. That game actually... I like it when the clicking and the incremental is actually doing something. This isn't really doing anything, it's just making a number go up. Maybe that's why I like Magic Research 2 so much. There was actually dungeon crawling in it and fights that you had to strategize for. Sure, you could overpower it with the sheer power of clicking, but clicking didn't do damage. Clicking channeled mana and cast spells, which you would use to make your way through fights. Number go up isn't enough. In most games, number go up is not enough for me. I need it contextualized. Even if that number is money, that money needs to amount to something. I need to be able to invest it in something, or grow a business, or something to that effect. In Patrician 4, for example, you can get all the money, sure, but that money is about growing my towns. Yes, to get more money, but I want to have all those towns looking great, have their needs fulfilled, happy people, so on and so forth. Alright, get mining. What do we have in the mines? Well, it already just about outperforms my farms. Get working harder, Mildred. The cookie quota must be met. You ever seen Anti-Idol? Never heard of it. Like I said, this isn't really my genre, so I'm not familiar with the titles. Oh yeah, there was Universal Paperclips, but didn't that one get really weird? Seem to recall that plot going off the edge on that one. Hard to know the best thing to invest in for these. Well, I just doubled up Grandma's efficiency, so maybe we get more Mildreds and Agathas and... Peanut? Gertrude, now there's an old crumbly name. Gertrude, Mildred, Agatha. But hey, sometime the names we have today will be seen as old, foosty people names, and maybe those old ones will come back in style. Yes, I played Factory Town's Cookie Clicker spin-off, Factory Town Idol, and I quite enjoyed it for a while, but when it became multiple towns, I lost interest. It's hard to get a good overview of your situation when it's spread across 8 sub-menus. The logistical setup was interesting, but I lost the context for it at that point. I'd had a good time until then, so no regrets. Certainly better than Factory Town the game, that game's no fun. Jake's 100% Factorio run turned into an idle game at some point. Yeah, that's true. But very contextualized. Very enjoyable. Plus, I could play Slay the Spire whilst my green circuits were being produced. Pretty good combo. It's hard to find games where you can really play 2 different games at the same time and enjoy them both almost 100%. Alright, come on grannies, let's get more of you. You seem to be my top earner currently. It would be nice if there was some way of seeing a ratio of production here. Maybe if the bars behind them filled up. You know, this is 0%, here's 100%, and it showed how much of the total cookies they're giving you are. Cursors are cheap. Get on the cursors. I should probably work on my mines. You missed a gold cookie. A what now? Maybe one of these cookies that falls down here are golden, and you hit it for whatever. That's the fun! Calculating Republic of Ireland for all of your buildings. Is it now? The cookies aren't properly falling down because I clicked too fast. Well, I say I click. I am holding down a button to make this happen at least. How am I meant to rate this on the punishment game list as well? It's not really punishing to play. I can't imagine it's thrilling to watch, but punishing? Perhaps not. Is it difficult? Is it buggery? I was trying to remember the last time I played games in parallel, says Ninjin. It was probably Avorion and Mahjong. Yeah, Avorion's a game that you can leave idling. You can, but I find there's always stuff to do in Avorion. It's a game I'd love to play again. I'd love to start up another save and do another run of it, but I'd just be going through the same motions, so it's hard to justify. I made a batch of muffins a batch of cookies not too long ago, but they came out kind of a bit too fluffy, like muffins. I need to go crawling back to an old recipe I had, a recipe for chocolate caramel cookies, and oh, they came out so well. It was in desperation due to the horrible network performance. Yeah, that was grim. Such a poor timing thing, though. I don't think the game was at fault there, or even the service. Although I suppose they were. It was Palworld's massive takeover. So the place that we had the servers suddenly found themselves inundated with Palworld subscriptions. But that's on them, right? They shouldn't have taken work that they couldn't fulfill. But oh well. That's how luck goes. Something just popped out. What in the world just popped out? Some kind of purpley thing appeared in the middle of my cookie. Is Palworld still super popular, or was it a flavor of the month thing? Dunno, never played it. It's early access, so... The only thing I even saw of it was watching Yagamoth himself stream some Palworld. It did not seem his kind of game to stream, but... He does stream all sorts these days. Gone are the days of only having Secret of Mana on Yagamoth's stream. But all I saw him was building a staircase and struggling immensely with the geometry of it. So I don't really know what to make of that. Alright, clicking is 1% of your cookies per second, which is 401. So 4 extra cookies per click? Well, that sounds alright. In that case, engage the clickening. 24-hour peak for Palworld is currently 54,000. 55,000 even. That's a fair amount of people still playing. Beats us not out of a fair bunch of games. Speaking of games I know nothing about, but would like to know about, Roblox. So I don't know anything about Roblox other than it is a game, it exists, and I think it largely appeals to children. But I don't like the idea of there being a game out there that's popular, but I don't know much about it. So I might go and play it someday, see what it's all about. Entered my head because I was playing Payday 2 last night, and there was somebody... I don't know. They said something like they love the level Shadow Raid. I mean, who doesn't? But then the English was hard to parse. But they said something about from Roblox. Have they put Payday 2 missions into Roblox? Maybe I should check it out. I love Payday 2. I hope someday they make a sequel. Roblox is an engine that allows you to build all sorts of alternate game modes within the game using mods. Ah. Think Gmod, but even more childlike. I don't know. There's a lot of slurs that can only be learned through Gmod. A game service exploiting child workforce. Oh, please, please, I was already interested. Okay, what are we going to do with this? Farming. My farms make a fair few cookies, and the higher my CPM goes up, the more I get from my omega clicking. I don't see any of these so-called golden cookies you're talking about, though. Niu_ comes in at a really terrible time, but they say, hi, I really enjoyed your Frostpunk series on YouTube. Finally, I catch you on stream. But there are some series that I put out on YouTube, and there must be people that watch and go, oh man, he does this live, and I'd love to watch him play Capitalism Lab, or Frostpunk, or RimWorld Live, and so, oh god, he's live, I can check it out. But there's a lot of trash that gets played on my channel, and this is one of them. So I do feel for people that get disillusioned. Regardless though, thank you kindly. I put a lot of time and work into Frostpunk. And I have very fond memories of that. Can't wait for the sequel to finally be out and dig my teeth into that. Should have been out by now, but they pushed the game back, as is ever so common in this industry now. Alright, come on grandmas, get to bleeding work. I feel like this game needs an added layer. These cookies need to be put to some work. There needs to be some kind of fulfillment criteria or places to stuff full of cookies. Maybe we go in a growing order of cookie fulfillments to beat. You know, your nephews are coming round for the afternoon. Oh, you need to get your cookies ready for that. Oh, the nephews brought all their friends. Oh, no, they've signed you up to go and visit the local nursery. And it's a giant, sprawling urban nursery, and they're bringing their parents in. Everybody needs their cookies. Oh, is that a... Wow, okay, I don't feel very lucky, but sure. 5,000 cookies. And before you know it, there's a humanitarian crisis. You need to go and rescue them through the power of cookies. Everyone is starving in Uganda. If you want a good cookie clicker, play around with paper clips. I already did paper clips. It's not so much about the cookies, but about the grandmas. The grandmas aren't even making me all my cookies. Let's get those mines going. It says mute, but these things aren't making any noise. I'm at a loss for what that means. Visually muting, I suppose. Frostpunk 2, September 20th. Factorio Space Age, October 21st. Oh, I am having mixed feelings about that Space Age stuff. I'm really not very excited about it. But I do feel the Factorio itch in general. I'm definitely going to get it, and it's going to be a day one purchase and maybe even a day one play. Don't think I'll be streaming it though. I'd rather watch somebody else stream it. I'd rather watch somebody else stream Factorio from the start and then go through the stuff. Maybe while I play in parallel. Is anybody in the community going to be doing that? Firing up Factorio Space Age when it comes out and doing some nice long streams, you know? Jake streamed all these classic games for you, and maybe you think, you know, maybe I should do something for old Jakey, give him something to watch whilst he enjoys some time off, you know? Giving and receiving? No, is my appeal not working here? Yeah, I wouldn't buy it either. Mouse and cursors gain cookies for each non-cursor, but I don't know what that means, just give it to me. No, get back to work, says C-Space. The monster that brought us Lifeline. I don't mind him bringing Lifeline, I mind him bringing it with a 9-hour time limit. Oh, don't put yourself down there, Darth. I'm sure someone would enjoy watching you playing Factorio. As long as you don't use design blueprints, all is well. Blueprints for solved problems like balancing? Oh, wonderful. Blueprinting down your entire smelter setup and factory, I grab my waste paper bucket and I evacuate. You did not launch the rocket. I think Alpha's the only person in the community that stepped up and did that 100% Death World, though. It was really cool to watch. I re-watched it recently. Love the way the pressure gets to Alpha. Right. What's working for us so far and what's not? The grandmas and the cursors do yay much. We'll go with the farms for a bit. Did you win Lifeline? I won by being defeated. I was legitimately enjoying Lifeline. Some people might have thought I was pulling their proverbial third leg when I was saying, oh, you know, I'm enjoying this. I was enjoying it. The problem with the game was the combat was completely terrible, right? When you tell Jub in the game, what was her name? Rio the Brazilian. When you tell her go and investigate Shelf and she says, take off my clothes, I won't do that, you pervert. You know, then it's all, haha, very funny. Now, get to work. But when it's in combat and you say, okay, shoot enemy 1 in the head, and she says, I will run away now, okay. It's horribly frustrating. Doubly so when failure just sets you back to the last time you saved. So when the game became a corridor of back-to-back fighting with no ability to save or gain respite, I was done. Absolutely done with the game. I was able to choke down the occasional bit of combat, but then no more. Ah, Sudazima! You did the first 100% Factorio. Aha. Did the video survive? Now that I remember, I seem to recall watching a fair bit of that. But did the VOD survive? Alright, grandmas are twice as efficient, and farms are better. Oh lordy, look at that, because they're taking on some farming work. I'm not sure I could, in good conscience, get a centurion working out in the field. Working out in the kitchen, sure, fine. But the back-breaking manual labor of working a farm? No. You need some soft, supple life to do that. Then again, I sent the kids out in -40 in Factorio to untwist steel with their bare hands. Yeah, Zingus, that was also a real point of contention. I didn't watch Dark Young's run, so I wasn't familiar with it. But Dark Young's run took a lot longer than what I was afforded. And whilst my poor friend of southern Scotland is vernacularly challenged, I don't think that really reflects in Lifeline much, because she wasn't wanting to listen to me that much either. Reminds me, actually, when I was travelling, I met a guy from Ayrshire. It wasn't Dark Young. But when two Scots meet abroad, they often do the kind of standoffish far you fay. You know, measuring up if they're actually Scottish or not. Far you fay, I'm fae Moray. And he says, oh, you're from real Scotland. And it was all I could do not to laugh full-bellied in the guy's face, because I immediately thought of Dark Young. You're from real Scotland. Yes, as opposed to the Scotland that is just Greater Englandshire. Alright, what are we investing in? Get those mines going. Ooh, a factory! Right, now we're a real jobs creator. It's a centurion, not a centurion. Centurions would have a much different issue in the field. And centurions would have to deal with barbarians. Yes, centenarian. I don't know, can I not just say centurion? Sounds better, sounds cooler. And if we could get our grannies as part of a legion, well, that'd be a different story. Another gold, well, the gold didn't really do much. The gold gave me 5,000 cookies, and I'm getting more than that per second. Although it probably scales with your production, so it'd probably be something like 50,000 cookies now. As you might notice, I'm not really looking at the game. I'm just clicking away here whilst I read chat. Not a terrible way to spend my day. But I actually, when it comes to punishment games, I look forward to seeing just how bad things will get. And I gotta say, performance here has been lackluster. I expected worse out of you. And again, I'm not the one that chooses these punishment games. Randomly rolled, but you decide what goes on that list. Jake, I happened to see Braveheart before the weekly one-shot. Then I couldn't understand at all the complaints about your supposedly incomprehensible accent. Crystal clear pronunciation. Oh, why thank you, I think. I'm certainly from up in Teuchterville. I do not speak like my contemporaries back home. When I was quite young, in school, I just got it into my head, and I don't know where the thought came from. I thought, I don't really want to speak like my peers. I want to be understood when I talk. Didn't really take much effort, I just thought that, and then Didn't he speak all like this, Ken? Like, aye. And I think that has served me very well in life. Being able to be understood is pretty powerful. Then again, some people like that whole... I hesitate to use the term exotic, but maybe to them it is. When people are all speaking like that. When I go back home, though, it can take a bit of a moment to adjust. I remember walking around the back... I wouldn't really call it a street, but I was walking along the back road, and one of the nearby farmers was sorting something out in the field, and he walks over to the edge of the field when he sees me by, and he starts talking to me, and it takes me a bit to actually in-tune myself enough to parse what he is saying and give an appropriate response. If you've seen the movie Hot Fuzz, there's a moment where they go and meet a farmer there, the shotgun-toting guy who says, yeah, I've got a license for this one. And the two-layered translators are needed. The Chukter guy on the police force and Danny, both translating it over to Angel. And it was very much like that. Good times. The best part of the movie? I saw Hot Fuzz 2 days ago. Excellent choice, Sujin. It's Edgar Wright, isn't it? The producer or director. Now that man knows comedy. He did Spaced as well. I think he was involved in Black Books too. Actual comedy. Actual jokes. Not just repeating something until it's funny. Alright, get back down those mines. There's probably speedruns to this game. Might be somewhat interesting to see. Not for watching the way it's done, heavens no, but more the idea of thought process behind how you upgrade, what the optimal path is for it. Yeah, Black Books was such a gem. But Ninja, you buck the trend of your countrymen by actually having a sense of humor. I don't know how you did it. Must have been very difficult in that stifling upbringing to come to comprehend humor. Fluffy Cotton Socks comes in to say that my boyfriend speaks normal to me, but trying to catch what he's saying to his friends, my god, that is hard. I'm missing some context here. What makes your boyfriend hard to understand? I met someone who sounded exactly like that farmer when leaving a bus station once. I think he was asking me for directions. Well, I go to countries where I don't speak the language whatsoever. Hell, I live in Hungary and I don't speak even 5 words of Magyar. So, not understanding people around me is the default, so I can get by pretty well just by hearing people's tone and demeanor. Actually, I was coming back into my home today after going out for my morning shopping down at market. And the guy was... I don't even know what language he was speaking. But, he wanted his ball back. His wee kid had kicked a ball into my yard. So, huzzah, he got it back. And he did speak English, huzzah! I would have actually spoken to him a bit more, because I don't hear a lot of people around here with English, but I had some cookies to click on. Oh, man. Such choices. 600,000 and we can get twice as efficient mines. The mines are, by good measure, doing the God's work here, so give me that. He's got a Scottish accent. We are in Aberdeen. I'm so sorry to hear that. I spent some of my best years in Aberdeen. I was in Aberdeen again not that long ago. When was that? 3 years ago? 4 years ago? A friend of mine was getting married out in the Black Isle near Inverness. And I think that coincided with actually a fairly large meetup of my university brethren in Aberdeen. And what a dump Aberdeen has turned into. Going down Union Street, just smack heads out in broad daylight. Kids with nothing better to do. Literally crumbling buildings. And this is like the main street in Aberdeen. Crumbling buildings there. Out of business shops. A lot of places I like to go, long dead. One of the only classic places still around was the tobacconist. Guy in there going, I've been here for 100 years, we're not leaving. But I can't imagine business is good. All the oil yeah, Aberdeen lives and dies on its oil, doesn't it? Sad, sorry state of affairs. Well, oil money buttered my bread for a fair while. I did private security for... Well, I better not say which companies, but private security for various companies in Aberdeen and Scotland as a whole, actually. Best gig I ever had was working in a data center for a bank. Well, was that the best one? It was pretty good. Rockstar had an office in Edinburgh, I was there. Really swanky. Not sure if it's still there, though. Yeah, Beako, we come down hard on emotes here. Best not to take it personally. I mean, look at the chat right now. Not an emote in sight, and it's wonderful. I do watch other streams at times, but going into a busy stream where it's just a wall of memes and emotes, I find it very hard to digest. Took a lot of years of Iron Fist treatment, but to have a chat like this just is wonderful to me. 99,000 cookies, what a lucky golden... How long do we have? Oh god, we've spent marginally longer on this than we had with that random dungeon game. Is it better? No. Oh, I don't know about that. There was a slight amount of variance to it, but... We'll just see how far we can get with clicking our cookies for 2 hours. Half an hour, I still haven't looked away from the building tab. There are other tabs. There's a legacy button. You would get no prestige. You need 1 trillion cookies. Okay. Hey, you can bulk buy these things. I'm not seeing anything there. Not an emote in sight, because they get shot on sight. There are ways around it, of course. If you get yourself a mod sword, you can emote all you like. One of our mods uses his sword for exactly that. Baron Von Owen has some truly horrifying emotes of his own, and he loves to post them. And he knows they horrify me, and I am powerless to do anything about it, because to undermine that would be to undermine the very mod game challenge, and I like the mod game challenge. Recently found out the mods actually had more elevated privilege than I wanted them to have. I gave out the editor role to all mods. I think that was from when we did hosting and stuff. But editor gives a lot more than just that, so... Away that went. Yeah, there we go. Sable's putting that sword privilege to use. Yeah, you're hard-pressed to find a regular around here who hasn't been timed out sometime or another. Some people just get caught in crossfire. It's actually hard to get a ban around here. Most bans, it's either me or Tandyman putting out the bans. Tandyman doesn't take any crap. He is such an OG. Jake, you're in sell mode. Oh, probably don't want to sell my things. I didn't notice that was a different button there. But now I do. Right, what can we do with you? Make my grannies better. Good lord. Okay, so the grannies are now also mining. Will they also be factory workers, or perhaps even factory foremen? I like using emotes, says Flopsy Doodle. It put me in the path of the banhammer more than once, rightfully so. Yeah, Nitro, I suppose, is quite lucky he had those swords. Allows him to parry all those bans he gets. I see a mod sword as also a get out of jail free card. Like, if you really cross the line with me, you'll be spared the ban if you have a sword. Pretty hard to do, though. Ninja says that emotes are a regression to the time before we had nothing but cave paintings. I'll give it time. Old internet archaeologists will eventually be a thing. I'll be looking back at the way we do this now. We're part of history. Maybe not a glorious part. You're like the chillest person on Twitch, says Shirley. How in the blazes do people get seriously on your bad side? Yeah, it's difficult. Some people come around and they just want to start trouble. And I think some streamers don't want to ban anyone because, you know, they're your precious viewers. They bred your butter. Better not get rid of them, but no, I got no problem stomping on people. I feel bad for the guy who has to record and sort all your... That's me! I do all of that. I keep all my videos very well categorized and sorted out in lovely playlists, but YouTube's a very thankless process of that. I don't think anybody really uses user-made playlists. I'm quite certain that over the years YouTube is going to do away with playlists, and instead all you'll get are their algorithm-generated mixes, as they're being called. And I largely think that because there's no real support on YouTube for playlists. Playlists still haven't properly been incorporated into the YouTube Studio, which has been how you sort out your YouTube channel and has been for many years now. If you want to go and actually sort a playlist, you have to come out of Studio to do so. I mod for someone who builds Lego. Ooh. I loved Lego as a kid, me, and it's something that I dare not chew into as an adult because I feel like it's a way for a fool and his money to swiftly be parted. Nitro, on the other hand. Nitro and Worm around here, they love their Legos. I put down Frostpunk after getting absorbed into it by accident, and who should be streaming but my favorite... Oh god, no! This is not what you want to come here for. We're just clicking cookies. We are obligated to click on this cookie for another 80 minutes. Sabletooth points out, it's so annoying to have to browse through dozens, if not hundreds of videos, when you're trying to find a particular series of videos, like a particular playthrough of a game, yeah. I need to get back into the habit of storing videos that I find and like. I'll make a playlist on YouTube, for example, of a bunch of videos that I like, but there's nothing to stop the original uploader like deleting their account and then away it goes, or they get banned and away it goes, or there's a copyright claim and away it goes. I used to be a lot more diligent about saving videos that I like. And I'm in a better position to do it now than ever, because I keep a lot of hard drive cold storage. I barely use it, and probably I should. But you know how it is, you know, it's conveniently there. Why would I need to back it up? Well, I have a couple of playlists, and they say something like 3 videos are hidden because they've been deleted, and it doesn't tell me which ones have been deleted, so... I need to find them. Lego is quite pricey. A way to be parted from a lot of money if you aren't careful, but you get some pretty rad decorations from your home for it. Yeah, I try to minimize the amount of physical things I have, though. It does not suit well to a mobile life. I'm bad at that, though. I've got a home gym, and I would not sell that thing for love or money, so... that puts me in an awkward situation. Cookie production multiplier plus 1%. That's not a whole lot. But eventually percentage boosts are bound to be the biggest. Oh, hang on. It's not just cookies coming out here. Looks to be some kind of planetary ball or something? Sugar cookies. Not a fan. Yeah, when I moved to Sweden, what did I have? I had a box with my computer. I had a backpack and I had 1 suitcase. And I thought, cool, I can travel light. But when I moved from Sweden to Hungary, I needed a whole heavy goods well, not a whole one, about 1/3 of one. Furniture and gym and far too many belongings. Yeah, I kind of looked at it with a sense of disgust. It'd be fine to have all these things if I had my roots down and, you know, I had a house where I'm quite certain I'm going to die in this place. But I don't plan on dying in Hungary. Much as I love my life here. There's a lot more traveling I still want to do. Moving to Japan is growing in my desire list right now. Looking into how much of a reality it is to get that done within the next 1.5 years. Which does mean boning up on my Japanese. I've been hitting up the Boon Pro. Still considering getting myself a Japanese tutor. I'd rather have one I get in person, but there aren't many people who speak Japanese, let alone can teach Japanese where I am right now. Although if there was, I'd be jumping all over that. So I might go and see if there's someone in Budapest with my name on them. Why so many streamers and YouTubers move to Japan? I guess it's just overrepresented, but streaming and being a YouTuber affords a lot of flexibility in how you lead your life, assuming you don't also have kids. It's one of the bigger reasons that I went full-time on streaming as opposed to working at Paradox. I wanted to be my own boss, and that was a significant factor of it, but another part is the freedom that it offers. Factories get factorying. More freedom means freedom to move wherever I want, and I had just bagged myself that sweet, juicy Swedish citizenship, which is an EU citizenship, allowing me to move and live and work within the EU wherever I want, whenever I want. And that sparked me doing my trip around Europe to find the ideal place to be, and then here I am at Lake Balaton, Hungary. God, I love it here. It's so good. But in regards to Japan, the EU citizenship won't help that much there, but the freedom to do my job, as it were, wherever I go, means I could go anywhere, and if you're going to go anywhere, why not go to Japan? I visited there, I traveled around Japan for 1 month, loved the place, and I'd strongly consider living there. Well, I am strongly considering living there. You could move to Germany, says Zingus, specifically Dusseldorf. I've been to Dusseldorf. Little Tokyo is there with lots of Japanese working abroad, even Japanese school for their children. I'm sure you can find lots of Japanese friends there. What, in the school? If by friends you mean labor force. Do you have a prefecture in mind in Japan, Jake? No, I do not. However, when I was in Japan last time, I focused on the south. I didn't really go north at all. I would like to at least explore north. Maybe I'd just like a central hub, and then I spend a lot of time traveling around Japan. The Japanese bullet trains are no joke. They just fire you from one end of the country to the other in no time. Made me feel very sad going to the UK and riding on the rickety old express trains that just barely shuffle you around the country. Foxfire is in to confirm that there is nowhere in Australia worth living. It's all lies. We have some esteemed community members here from Australia. They all seem to like being outside of Australia. I feel for Lona. She came to Europe, but she had to go back to Australia. Already planning the next trip. Time to visit Ainu in Hokkaido. Tell them your exploits in EU4. I would really like to go to Hokkaido. I want to see just how wintry it gets up there. Maybe when I get really homesick, that'll be nice. Nothing reminds me of being back home in Scotland quite like being freezing cold. Right, I think I buffed up the factories, so perhaps we want as many of those as we can get. As an Aussie, says Foxfire, I can confirm that being outside of Australia is the best Australian experience. I love meeting Australians who are travelling. They are all such cheeky cunts. It's wonderful. Yeah, the idea is that we sent all of the worst Britons down there, but I actually think we sent our best and brightest. The barman at my favourite drinking hole over in Stockholm was an Aussie. Well, he still is an Aussie. You can tell when he's come back from going back home to Australia, he is turns very dusk-coloured. The worst went to Canada? Canada's on the list. I really want to visit Canada. I am going to be the worst. I'm going to put on my best Scottish accent, kilt up to the extreme, like every frill that I can put on there. And then I think I will be as insufferably Scottish as possible. Try to give something back for all the colonial travellers that we have coming over to Europe. You'll be Lucky's best neighbour. Hang around every Tim Hortons in sight in the hopes that he eventually spots me and he goes, "Jake, is that you?" My dream vacation is 3 to 4 weeks in Japan, starting in Beppu. Few days there, go north. Travel north, stay a couple days in each place, try local food. Is this a dream because it hasn't happened, or a dream because you do it and do it often? I think I covered 2,500 miles when I was in Japan. I was there for 1 month, just traveling around different places. I was in Tokyo for a week, and I stayed by Lake Biwa for 5 days or so. But I really liked going down to the southern island. What the heck is it called again? I don't know. I forget. It's been a while. It's a dream because it hasn't happened. I'm sure you can make it happen someday. Well, I'm not sure. I have no idea. For all I know, you're broke and destitute, and you are watching over someone else's shoulder to see the stream whilst you sit in the street corner, wondering how you're going to get your daily meal and feed your raggedy old dog that sits by your side, and you secretly feel guilty about it. But that's not my business. It's my if I win the lot. Well, I haven't won the lottery, but I went to Japan. But I'm a real miser. I save and save often. I was in Japan on vacation, says New Vein. I visited Matsumoto in Nagano Prefecture. Very nice place. Would love to live there, but it's not going to happen. Japan is a wonderful place to visit. Terrible place to move to as a foreigner. If you know Japanese, the amount of crummy stuff everyone says, thinking you don't know it, is very draining. I had a friend who went to university there. They'll say one thing to your face in English and then say something else in Japanese, thinking you don't understand them. I don't know. The thing is, you're going to see that everywhere. The only distinction there is that they're switching to Japanese to say it. If you have met another human being, you have been spoken about behind your back. If you can just get over that, I think life can be made a whole lot more enjoyable. Right, come on, let's make bank around here. I'd far rather it was said to my face, but it doesn't bother me. The amount of smack talking I did about Swedes when I was in Sweden to their face in English, because every Swede knows English, plentiful. But they never did anything, because they were every bit as limp-wristed, emasculated individuals as I was saying they were. There was one time I got confronted. I'd done my usual spiel about how terribly effeminate Swedish men are when I was on the subway heading into Stockholm. And there was one guy, he came up to me as we were getting off the subway, and he says, "You're a real asshole, you know that?" I just smile and say, "Yes." And then I continue on my tirade. So, I have a measure of respect for that one person, but all he did was prove me right. If I'd done that back home in Scotland, I would expect to be laid on the ground, bleeding, probably stabbed. And I would not begrudge them for it. Jake, don't sell the Swedes short. Half of them speak better English than the natives speak it. That is very true. The level of Swedish competence in English is immensely high. Certainly made my life there easier. Thanks for the passport. The last Swedish Viking. Come on, the last drop of Swedish testosterone got obliterated in Russia hundreds of years ago. Jake, I'm Danish, says Shirley. You're participating in our favourite sport, talking trash about Swedes. Ah, Denmark. I got a real soft spot for Denmark. Playing Europa Universalis 3 back in the day, myself and Lucas, we made the Danish flag out of Europe. Looked really good, came out quite well. Transylvania for the white, and I think it was Denmark for the red. Japan is like France and Paris in terms of outsiders. If you can't speak language, great. I spent a month there and I had no problem with them. Then again, they looked at me like I was some kind of weird beast because I was going around in Scottish attire. A few people did recognise me as being Scottish, though. I can't imagine they know the intricacies of all the small European countries over there. But there was a guy in a conbini who immediately switched to English and said, "Ah, you are from Scotland. Ah, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah." And there was a lassie over in... Ah, crumbs, what's the place? Not Osaka, but near Osaka. Ran over, wanting photos with me. That's not an uncommon occurrence in Europe, but it was uncommon in Japan. If my mother tongue was Swedish and Danish, my number one priority in life would be to learn another language so I never have to use my original one. Even to my relatively untrained ears, Danish is a really cumbersome language. Well, not just language, but the dialect. Sounds like you're constantly tripping over yourself and choking on your words. Anyway, if I can focus on this game for just a moment, is there anything more to do? I feel like the scaling is off here. It's really putting the idle in idle game. I don't feel like I'm aggressively able to pursue progress here. Is there like a sub-menu or something I'm missing? Or is it truly just we're in the click grind now? You'd think at this point there'd be some kind of multiplier that would give us a new leg up in progress. You can read that there are jokes at the top. Some people come from... Oh, it's gone. Farm cookies deemed unfit for vegans, says nutritionalist. Don't get me started. At least the Danes are not emasculated like the Swedes. I have not put that to the test. I've not actually spent any time in Denmark. At all. Have I think at best I've had a change at Copenhagen Airport, but I've never actually visited Denmark. But I'm kind of done with Northern Europe. I got no good reason to go back. Alright, you know what? Even holding this button down is too much for me. I'm going to change this into a toggle and then blip. Now I don't even have to touch the mouse unless I'm doing upgrades. People come from very far away to get a taste of your cookies. Well, the best cookie I've ever had is one that I've made, so not too inaccurate. Although I was in a weird little street in Kissimmee, and there was a cookie shop there, and their cookies were really fine. And to make matters even better, there was somewhere not too far away that had they served their own ice cream. They had this massive liquid nitrogen tank out in the backyard where the kids were playing, and that was some of the best ice cream I've had. But the best would probably be Mary's Milk Bar over in Edinburgh. Although, you know, it's probably because Mary is serving it. You should visit, says Ninja. It's essentially Swedes, but more laid back. Better food and a speech impediment. Not really selling the experience, given the options that I have, which includes just being here in Hungary, where I don't understand anyone anyway. But prices are low, taxes are low, food is great, and I love Budapest. I was always meaning to go down to the Croatian coast while living here, and it's so conveniently close by, but still have not got around to that. +1 for Mary's Milk Bar. Oh, nice. Somebody out there had to know. Good old Mary. I went there when the shop was just newly erected. Yeah, I like to imagine I was Mary's first customer, but that's certainly not the case. There were plenty of people checking out this new ice cream shop. I like that region in general. Down the windy path. I forget its name now. The windy brae, the spittle path. The thing leading down to Grass Market. There's a nice fromagerie there as well. Oh god, I could kill for some good cheese. That's one thing that they lack around here in Hungary. Since you're in the Balaton area, you can hop over here to Romania, says Motan Skiot, immediately revealing that this is a trap. Better food, arguably more beautiful girls. Okay, I don't want to smack talk the locals here too much, but that's not a high bar to clear. A language that does not scrape your brain. Just don't go to the south. They suck. And then I'm getting a little uncomfortably close to Istanbul, haven't I? Can't say I'm overly tempted to go to Romania. Romanians, a fair few of them come here to Balaton, as is. Holidaygoers, that is, not the kind of Romanians that head over to every street corner in Northern Europe. But no, there's not a lot of desire to go there. Besides, I lived with a Romanian for a while. I've had more than my fair share of Romania. You missed the golden cookie. I'm not really looking at the screen much. I'm just kind of shaking the... I don't even need to shake that, do I? More looking at chat. Reading chat's delightful... delightful messages to get me through another 60 minutes of clicking on bleeding cookies. Go on, let's turbo max the... well, everything, I guess. What a way to spend my Friday. I'm definitely go down to the beach after this. What is the meta for this game? See, I don't know. There's bound to be a good order. At some point, the upgrades stop being cost-effective until you do another thing and then come back to them, but I don't know the order. Never played this before. But I truly don't see the appeal in this kind of... the appeal is there, but it's not for me. There needs to be some kind of oomph to it. And currently there is no oomph to it. Copenhagen served me the best lunch I've ever had. A beef tartare open sandwich, says Ninjin. Best sushi I ever had was in Sweden, not in Japan. Although the second best sushi I've ever had was in Japan. Then again, if we're taking price into account, then yes, Japan had the best sushi. Not sure I really want to spend 100 euros on sushi again. I lived in Sweden for a year without visiting Stockholm once. I visited Stockholm many times since then. Definitely has a different vibe. But I really like Sweden compared to southern England. Okay, well there you go, baker of bread. Southern England is a bit of a hole in my opinion. And I've completely come around on the north of England. I was over in Middlesbrough and the surrounding area just a couple months ago. Going on 3 months ago now, yikes. And it was wonderful. Not at all how the North is depicted in British media. It's all depicted as, you know, this thick black smog cloud of dying industry with slack-jawed yokels who marry their sisters up there. But no, it was a wonderful place. Love visiting there, and the prices are certainly lower than one is accustomed to across the rest of the country. You liked Middlesbrough? Loved Middlesbrough. Well, maybe loved is going a bit too far, right? Wouldn't settle down there, but when you're painted such a poor image of an area and you go there and it's actually a whole lot better, then yeah, makes an impression. Middlesbrough's a lovely town, says Lord of Salmon. Yeah, there we go. I like the people there, right? Nice, friendly, honest, if a little simple people. They've conquered all the chippies. The southwest of England has its moments. Lake District, of course. I don't have strong memories of being the southwest of England. I've been to Land's End, but I would have been a wee boy back then. Not much memory there. I went down the east coast of England on well, I wouldn't even say family. It was me, my dad, and my cousin. Why the heck did we do that? It was like a summer, and we're just like, right, we're taking a road trip down the east coast of the country for some reason. I think my dad was looking for something. Something motorbike related, no doubt. Hopefully Japan works out fine for you, says Kamayu. But if not as a distinguished Swede, you are probably eligible to live easily in many European overseas territories, which have some diversity of remote places. I do like quiet places. I'm not a big fan of city living. That's why I came out to Balaton and not Budapest, for example. Eastern Overseas Territories, huh? Nah. Don't think I want to feel like I'm living in the country equivalent of a gated community. I just want to live in Japan for a while. Give it a few years, see how it goes. Who knows, I might set down roots there, or I might get itchy feet pretty quickly and then get up and go to another place. Overall, I haven't spent much time in Asia. Might be time to fix that. The trouble is, I've got a very nice life here in Hungary. It's pretty difficult to take a good thing and then gamble it all. It's like you've been dealt 2 kings, and the dealer has a 7. You're playing blackjack. You've pretty much won. But what if you split your kings? You could win more. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be really nice? I'm watching your perfect Hansa run. Which one? Railway Empire? Or Patrician 4? Or Avorion? Or Capitalism Lab? Or Rise of Industry. We wouldn't talk about Rise of Industry. Although the sequel will be out eventually. I heard how fond you are of the Dutch, so I won't recommend it for you. I used to think very highly of the Dutch. When I was doing security in an oil firm in Aberdeen, there were quite a lot of Dutch people coming over there. Very tall, well-mannered, stern, good work ethic. And I thought, wow, imagine a country full of these people. But then I met and got to know more Dutch people. Never actually went over to the Netherlands. And your people are a circus. My ideal living space would be having a small 2 to 3 acre homestead in a bit of the hills near a lake with some forest and just a few partners. Take the partners part away from there. I've certainly lived that life. Not so good. Rural, nah, not really. Suburban, small town, yes, but rural, no. I was brought up truly in the middle of nowhere, Scotland. Kind of place where you might wake up and find a cow in your garden. Never again. How hard was it to learn the language? I have not learned any foreign languages. I speak English, and I'm not petty enough to call Scots a language. I'm actively working on Japanese, but my language skills are just terrible. I wish they were better. But you don't just wish things better, you work things better. So I broke out my flashcards and I get to work. Oh, hello, Cookie. Yeah, I'm very surprised at that, Ninja, right? You're an academic individual, gifted with giant brain, and yet you don't speak the local language. And you're Swedish, no less. That means foreign languages surely come easier to you. Yeah, racial traits. And you've got a Japanese wife and kids? How do you not know Japanese? On top of that, very well. I suppose when one's head is full of Linux workarounds, there's only so much space, you can't pack in more languages there. He's just that good. Yeah. Hanging out with Ninja was certainly a high point of going over there to Japan. Alpha as well. Means I get to say I've been to Tokyo U. If I want to be very horribly disingenuous. There are upgrades to buy at this top part. Yeah, I know, I've been buying some of these. Evidently not all of them. What's making me the big bucks here, anyway? Ooh, I could get a temple. Give me a temple. What does Templeton do for me? 7,000 additional cookies per second. Not bad, but I would probably be better investing in the top upgrades. My Japanese is functional. I can navigate life here. Yeah, my Hungarian is functional. I can navigate life here. Whenever I have a problem, I make it someone else's problem and all is well. Couldn't figure out my taxes. Just went down to the tax office, gave them the papers, and sat there until they fixed it. And fix it they did. Did a Swedish language course before I went for a semester abroad in Stockholm. I didn't use a single word of Swedish here in my state. Yeah, in Stockholm, everybody speaks English. Even the beggars on the street speak English. The only occasion where you're going to find someone that might not speak English so fluently you'll think you're in a better version of Britain is if you find a geriatric. Isn't that an Anglosphere thing? Calling themselves expats instead of immigrants and not learning the language? Yeah, we are terrible for that. That said, there's no motivation for me to learn... Well, there wasn't motivation to learn Swedish, and there's certainly not motivation to learn Hungarian, but I do really want to learn Japanese. It's a fun language, and a useful language. All those untranslated games, plus you get to feel real on your high horse when you play a game untranslated, and then you look at the translation and think that it's a complete piece of fan fiction. Alright, what do we have here? Get working grannies. What the heck does this game appeal to? Rakanal says Hungarian is easy. Hungarian is the hardest language I've ever seen. I can't count to 10 in Hungarian. Oh, there we go. Ninja's peddling his abandoned Nagano homes for sale. I believe it was Shirley saying it's a pipe dream to go to Japan if you win the lottery. Is that really the case? Why would you have to win the lottery to go on a month-long trip to Japan? My trip to Japan cost me... let me think. The tickets cost about €1,000. Maybe a little less. Maybe like €700 return. And I'm certain I could have gotten those a lot cheaper, but timing. And I think I spent about €2,000 when I was there. That seems about right. Let's round it up and say €3,000 for a month in Japan. That doesn't sound too bad. And I'm far from rich. If you really wanted to do it, you could probably save for a year and then get it done. If that means cutting back on extravagances, then so be it. It's meant to be a dream trip. Was it really $3,000? I'm trying to think about that one, actually. I think on average my accommodation was €50 a night. Dilapidation Ryokan certainly didn't charge a lot for my time there. And that times, let's say 30 days, 500, 1,500. I didn't spend that much when I was there, although I needed the train ticket, didn't I? €3,000 to €4,000 sounds about right. €3,000 would take me about 2 years to save right now, but part of that is I'm basically that per year on debts. That doesn't sound like healthy debt. But anyway, like I said, if that's a dream, then 2 years of saving up to make it happen shouldn't be insurmountable. This must sound really cocky, right? I don't know anything about your life, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I very not fondly remember my time in debt. I'd paid off a lot of bills. And I was like, oh, it's okay, I'll just work hard for a while. And then I lost my job. The company that I was working for at the time got bought over. I really liked that job, so I felt quite grim about that. And then it was like, so this is what debt feels like. Had to sell some things to make ends meet, and what did I do after that? I worked hard, I saved a lot, and I swore that I would never be in debt again. And I'm pretty sure I killed all of my debt. I even got my student loan paid off. You get paid to go to university in Scotland, which is quite cool, but I also took a student loan. It was advertised to me as free money, and who doesn't like free money? Oh, hang on, did I mute myself there? I think I did. I'm sure I was talking about debt or something. Yeah, I think I was talking about debt and student loans. I paid off my student loan eventually. Although you get paid to go to university in Scotland, I also took out a loan. It was advertised as free money. But it's not very free. They have it grow with inflation, compounding, and they'll pin it to the highest inflation. There was a period of deflation in the UK, and did my loan deflate? No, it did not. Won't be fooled again. But I only need to be fooled once. We never found out who dislikes free money? Paying student loan in Scotland, that's a unique achievement. Yeah, I was tempted to never pay it off, because if you reach the age of 60 or you just die, it gets paid off for you. But the bigger motivator, rather than just not having debt, was also not have any paperwork that ties me to the UK. I wanted to be truly free of that nightmarish island. And, well, aside from being British, having British passport and nationality, you know, that's just whatever. But debt can follow you. So, paid off that student loan, and now there's almost nothing tying me to the UK. I mean, there's family there, sure, but yeah. Yeah. What do the hands on the cookie mean? All these hands are clicking for me, right? I'm doing some clicking, sure, but these hands are also click, 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 click. We have 77 hands producing 1,217 cookies per second. Whoa, this game's giving like a psychedelic effect. I've been staring at that cookie for so long, it's like the screen is moving up as I look at it. Trippy. And ultimately unpleasant. Grannies, make me more cookies. Getting rather industrious up there in Granny's kitchen. I recently had a run-in with British debt collection as well. Out of nowhere, they wanted me to pay some fines on unfulfilled tax reporting in the UK, despite the fact that I emigrated a decade ago. I had all the paperwork to prove that I was in the right, but it's like talking to a brick wall. I just didn't want to hear it. Did eventually get through. I feel really fortunate, actually. There was a big plus that came out of it. I now have a backdoor number into HMRC to actually just directly talk to a human. It's amazing. You know the XKCD comic where a guy wants tech support and they're like, there's a secret behind it. Use this quote and you'll be put through directly to someone that speaks a minimum of 2 programming languages, but it all turns out to be a dream. Well, I got that for real for UK tax. And it feels good. But yeah, HMRC, the less you work with them, the better. I did security for HMRC, actually, way back in the day. It was not exciting. I wish I could say I have some wonderful stories of seeing teary-eyed grannies being driven out by maniacal, cackling men in suits, but no, it was just a business. People in suits go in and people in suits go out. And people in bigger, fancier suits are shown all sorts of polite courtesies. Lose the phone number, it's a link to the UK now. It could come in handy if they once again write me another letter. 3 times, right, I got through and I was like, yeah, okay, well, we've got it all sorted, you don't know anything, no problems. And then I get a letter, and it takes about a month for mail to reach me here from the UK. And the letter says, yeah, you owe all this money. Please send it at your earliest convenience. Complete with grammatical and spelling errors as well. It was grim stuff. At the end of the day, Jake, I need to get through about 80,000 euros of mix and sugaries. Oh, surgeries. I still read that as sugaries and loans before I can justify a holiday in Japan. I just need to figure out a way to make money. How to make money. I used to obsess over that as a child. I spent all my time, well, not all of my time, but I spent far too much time thinking, how can I make loads of money? I blame my father for that. My father would always play the game of, if you win the lottery. You know, we got a long car journey to make, Father's probably thinking, oh god, what do I say to my son that doesn't involve video games? And he's like, oh, you know, Jake, you know, if we won the lottery, what would you do with all that money? What would you do with all that money? He was always making me think about money. Why was he always trying to get me to think about money? Well, it worked. The biggest thing on my brain as a child was, how could I make money without having to work for it? I used to come up with all these harebrained schemes. I took a printer one time, a scanner printer. That technology was in its relative infancy, but a scanner printer. And I took a £5 note to it, and I scanned it and printed it out. And I thought, could I just print my own money? And I was holding the £5 thing in my hand, and I was like, well, it's obviously not a £5 note. This was back when paper notes were made of paper. Now they're made of some weird plasticky compound thing. And I was like, this won't convince anyone. So I soaked it in coffee and scrumbled it up a bit. And then it soaked up the coffee, retained it a bit, so it had a bit of that crumpleness that old £5 notes used to have. And on top of that, you know, it looked and felt convincing. And I thought, oh, maybe I've cracked it now. But I did not have the lack of ethics needed to actually use that. It's also a pretty big crime. You get caught doing that, they're not going to overlook the fact that you are but a stupid child. Someone watching from HMRC just spat their tea all over the screen. Couldn't do it now, though. They've got that weird plasticky see-through inlay. I suspect your father wasn't the millman? I don't understand. Mine jumped on every single get-rich scheme he could, then blamed his kids when they failed on him. Ah, well, that's why you have kids. You need to outsource your failure. It's not a crime to pay with false money unless they can prove that you know. Ah, but they only need to prove that to their satisfaction. And I don't think it would be too hard to go and find my printer, probably still with a £5 note in it, and my tray of coffee when I am very vocal about how much I dislike coffee. One of the things, I often thought about how I could gamble for loads of money, how I could cheat the casino. But try as I could, I couldn't think of anything that wasn't just lean over and grab the chips when the croupet's not looking. What other get-rich schemes do I have in my head? Always putting your mind to, oh, could I get into an injury and get injury claim? Could I live off the dole? But no, dole money isn't living. I did security, actually, for the dole. What's it called again? Job seekers. Job seekers in the UK. I did 1 day of private security, and never again. It was really molded me as a person, seeing the absolute dregs of society over in job seekers in the UK. They are not a pitiable bunch. I think that's a thought that crossed many children's minds. I looked at a scanner printer as a kid thinking, copying some cash. As a child, I thought that the ATMs just dispensed free money. I couldn't get my head around the idea of the bank account and limited funds. So when my father would say something like, this day out cost us 50 quid, you know, I'd just be thinking, well, you can just get free money from the hole in the wall. What's the problem? Such a miser. I know where I got my niggardly ways from. Thank you, Father. It has helped me out. Job seekers, a sight of the worst of British humanity has to... Oh, it absolutely is. There was this guy. And I mean, you can see him in your head. Imagine your most stereotypical dole-seeking scum of the earth. And he comes in, he's hours late for his appointment. And he just sits down and goes, oh, your appointment was for 11, and it's 2 now. He just goes, I was busy. And that's it. Not a shred of shame on these people. Grim times. Anyway, I was there, and I hope that I never had to work there again. And you've really felt like your presence there was needed. Lots of angry people who have certainly done violent things in their time. And you're just standing there, a perfect target for the next load of ire if they don't get the money that they need for their next fix. Not a place I wanted to be. But hey, that's work. Yeah, now I click cookies. What a wonderful transition. This punishment game isn't all that bad, but it's not punishing at all. Might be my first 0-star punishment game. It's not fun, heavens no, but it doesn't fulfill any punishment criteria. It's barely even a game. The real punishment's not having cookies to eat. I've got all the gubbins I need through the house for making some cookies. There's little stopping me, aside from my 1600 daily calorie allowance. And since I plan on making a big sweet potato lentil soup later on, and consuming most of it, I'm not sure there's going to be much space left over for cookies. I'm really, really hungry. I have too much of a sweet tooth to ever refuse cookie. I got a monstrous sweet tooth. I love sweet things. Even my alcohol. Even my whiskies. A real penchant for a sherry cask, because I like it sweet. Keep that smoky stuff for the Vikings. Yeah, this is kind of in reverse, right? The reason we're playing this whatsoever... If you're here... and you just dumbled in and you're wondering why there's some guy that's just essentially life blocking whilst clicking on a cookie. This is my punishment game for failing my challenge run. When I fail a challenge run, I do a punishment game as submitted by chat. The thing is, the challenge run was the punishment game. It was Lifeline, and it was a pretty terrible game. It was certainly a very punishing experience. I enjoyed parts of it, but as a whole it was a punishing game. And then flip side to this, there's no real punishment involved. I'm just kind of chilling out. Even the music's pretty zen. Besides, I get to hear about people and their travel plans and lack thereof, and I get to brainstorm both get-rich-quick schemes and another visit to Japan. Face Peeler pointing out that there are 11,000 people playing Cookie Clicker in Steam right now, and there are probably many more than that playing on the free browser version. And my sign is no parking. Now let's move on. I was trying to look up all the different lines that she says. Actually, I'd like to get a rip of that game. Hopefully find and extract the audio files for all her different lines. Because I'm sure there are plenty that are not well recorded. You do that? Just shoot a dead person? What is wrong with you? I don't mean get rich quick. This isn't something I'm shooting for. Just a way I can increase my income. Increasing incomes, huh? Well, there's always selling stuff, but you probably have a finite amount of things to sell. I sold a bunch of stuff when I moved away from Scotland to Sweden, but when it came from going from Sweden to Hungary, I generally just gave my stuff away. It wasn't worth the effort of trying to sell things. And it is effort. I know someone that supplements their income by giving out, or not giving out, they sell guitar lessons, but then they are amazing at guitar, so go figure. Where I live here, there is a farmer's market, and I love being there, but I gotta wonder how much money they actually make on that. I walked away with a huge amount of delicious figs, and I reflected on the fact that it only cost me about €2 for them. Great, big, juicy, fresh, golden figs. Love them. They are probably my favourite fruit, although I do love grapefruits. And I was getting them hand over fist. I tried selling my sister when I was a kid. I got a hell of an eye-opener. Was she really ugly and not worth anything? She's already renting herself to others. Yeah, don't sell if you can rent. My get-rich-slow plan involves property empire, but that requires wealth in the first place. Too much work. I had considered getting into landlording, but I even had a few people around to view my apartment in Sweden, but the more I thought about it, the less I wanted to engage in that. It seemed too stressful. And there's one thing I don't want in my life, it is stress. Wait, gain more cookies per second the more milk you have, but milk is not a thing. Unless it is somewhere. Give me all these. The milk is below the cookie. This is milk? Is it chocolate milk? Or is it just turned that way from all the cookies that have fallen into it? Now there was a strange thing about Japan. I thought the milk was terrible. Didn't even taste like milk, just... It was kind of like someone took some water and poured flour into it. But aren't they kind of generally genetically lactose intolerant over there? I thought that was an Asian and an African thing. Far more lactose intolerance in those areas. Oh man. Living in Japan, I would have to be baking my own bread a lot more frequently. It's been a while since I've done it myself, because again, I'm on a calorie limit and bread is the enemy of calorie limits. But the bread in Japan just isn't bread as we know it in Europe. Just a big slab of sugary flour over there. They can't understand the differentiation between pan and keiki. But also big fat slices of it. They make bread the way Americans make pancakes. Well, thankfully I can't speak for the US there, Shirley. Or can I? No, I cannot. The colonies will do what the colonies will do. They learn from the best. The progress in this game feels mighty slow. Is there some real trick I'm missing here? Especially after playing Magic Research, this feels so idle. Perhaps the clue is in the genre name. The first run is just really slow. That's a shame. Because it very much was not the case when playing Magic Research. It was a very hands-on affair. Felt good. Progress felt good. New unlocks felt great. Yeah, I feel like there should be other menus. Other things to do. I've got options, but... it doesn't seem like what I'm looking for. How do we get rid of you? Got my stats. Well, it does look like there are a lot of things to unlock. Ah, wait, no, these are achievements. Upgrades, version... You would get no prestige, so I guess going legacy is a fool's errand currently. So, how long is this on for? Punishment games typically run for 2 hours. The exception is when it's so bad I can't last 2 hours. That's very rare, but it did happen in Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. Or if I beat the game, and that happened with our previous game. I beat it in half an hour. Terrible game. Yeah, so another idea in the get-rich-quick scheme is to make sure-thing bets. Find a good leak on information that you can gamble on. Don't know how exactly I'd go about that, but if I think a little harder about it, I probably could have put that kind of thing to work. For example, I was in private security. I could have done private security for certain places and ruffled through their paperwork and used that as information to make bets on, or even just sold the information, but that's a little bit more criminal than I'm looking for. If you want to do that kind of thing, then maybe you would be a taxi driver. Always offer your services either quite cheaply or quite luxuriously to diplomatic areas or those oil places. Eventually you get two people come in that just can't stop talking shop in your back seat, take notes, put them to use. And that actually wouldn't be criminal. It's not criminal to use information that you overhear like that. Well, I'm under the impression that it's not. Espionage is also live by the sword, die by the sword kind of deal. Yeah, but what if that sword can be gold gilded? You mean like insider knowledge trading? Well, wouldn't be insider, you're not the insider. You're an outsider, hearing it from the inside. Anyway, much as I enjoy driving, I wouldn't want to do it for a living. I haven't driven now for almost 10 years, I think. Sold my car when I moved to Sweden. I thought I would get another car when I'm here in Hungary, but there's been no need for it. Transit in Hungary, as long as you're going to or from Budapest, is surprisingly good and very cheap. I actually ride first class when I can. Oh no, it's €2 more to pay for first class. Whatever will I do? Whereas you do first class in the UK, you're doubling or tripling your ticket price. Actually, it's still doubling and tripling here, but double of not much is still not much. Catalyst is a good card in Slay the Spire, but if you just have Catalyst and 1 poison stab, it's not going to do that much. Is there a big difference between first class and not? No, not really. There's more space, there's better cooling. If it's one of the nice trains, you get those fancy little private cab things to ride in, which can be really nice. But the real benefit of going first class is just generally not having people around you. Guess I'm who's going to pay first class. I actually did ride first class when I was back in the UK. I rode first class going from Aberdeen to further up north, and had almost the entire wagon to myself. There was a delightful couple from the Americas, and they were a baffling pair. Just about every other sentence, the man was encouraging me to go to New York because it's so great in New York, and every other sentence was him complaining about baby boomers ruining the everything. The man himself was about 65 years old, so I don't know up what tree he was barking. They also asked me what an appropriate tip to give in the UK is. What should I be tipping the lady in the train here? Nothing. We don't tip here. What? You should go to New York. Lots of nice tipping there. Ah, man. Good old Americans on vacation. At their best, they're loud and arrogant. At their worst, they're abducting 12-year-old Chinese girls. Dark but not untrue. Pay for job, client tips. Yeah, I'm fairly anti-tipping, but that's a powder keg by its own right. The only time I appreciated US tourists was when I was in a nice old-fashioned lady offered to let me go up to the Acropolis with their group by passing the 2-hour lane because I helped with their ticket. Oh, that's very nice. When are you going to stream the Gollum game? I already did. The Gollum game was a previous and much more potent punishment game. Since this game is really not doing much for anyone, especially me, why don't we reflect on some of the punishment games that we've had? If I can... Hold that thought. We have the technology to do this. I need to grab my browser. I need to make sure it's actually my browser. Need to make sure all my compromising bookmarks and such are hidden from plain sight. Also, it's a Google Doc, and Google loves to dox me. Just shouts out, "Oh, hey, Jake last name. Welcome to signing in land." There we go. Is that legible? I feel like that's not very legible. Let's do that then. I organize a list of all the different punishment games that I've done, and then I rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 as how punishing they are. Staggering to think that with this one we're down to 193 and 194. The last one was 6 randos. This is Cookie Clicker. Cookie Clicker, I think, is just going to get nothing. It is absolutely nothing. It's not fun, it's not punishing, it's not much of anything. 6 randos is only really getting 1 star, I think. I mean, the only punishing aspect of this game was the flashbang of a menu screen. It wasn't particularly good, but punishing it was not either. Some real heavy hitters that we've had, though. Toy Story. Toy Story for the Super Nintendo was a grim time. High on Life and Pathologic were... Cybercop was woeful. But the poster child of punishment games is right here. Coronation Street and the Mystery of the Missing Hot Pot Recipe. If you ever want to really understand what punishment games are, you want to see that stream. That's what punishment games are all about, and nobody's really come up with anything as good since. Toy Story was close, Cybercop was really bad, but this one was the bee's knees of punishment. And then what was it? It was Mr. Maze, Alt F4 as well. Frustration platformer game, unpleasant. Sethian was a nightmare. Hang on, is Alchemia not here? Ah, there's Alchemia. Wasn't that bad? It certainly was not as horrible as Sethian. Did you play Silver Surfer for the NES? Yes, I did. That was 2 Hours of Hell a long, long time ago. Rebel Assault, that was horrible. Hunt Down a Freeman, another horrible one. Might and Magic Heroes 7. Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land could never get anything other than a 5-star. Same can be said about Metroid Randomizer with Link to the Past. It looks like, yeah, we had this series of really good, potent punishment games around here. And it's kind of fallen off since. What's all this softly stuff? Fun games? Trombone Champ, Animation Throwdown, Delta Force, Hard Time? Fun games and these lackluster, limp-wristed one? It's not good enough. People need to get better acquainted with horrible games. And to do that, you need to play horrible games. Just finding Flavor of the Month awful games often is insufficient. I need something that tormented your childhood. Or this amazing game you look forward to, you spent $50 on, and it was a nightmare. This problem is you just don't have a wide enough gamer diet to bring in. I could probably single-handedly give someone a 200 list of punishment games that are all 3 to 5 star for them. Did Jake play Heroes of Might and Magic 3? I did, it wasn't bad. There is a claim there by Wetter that I hated it. That is overselling it. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. It was a good game, but it's not my kind of game. I don't like high fantasy. I don't like that kind of turn-based strategy. I really do not enjoy the combat sections. But I could tell it was a well put together game, and it certainly is deserving of the love that it has. But it does not have my love. Okay, hate is overstating it. Didn't like would be more fitting. Try not to say hate too often unless I'm really abhorring something, because it's easy to say. Too easy to say. I would suggest D3. I don't know what D3 is. Does Gaia 3? Delta 3? Dust Force 3? ICC? International Complaints Commission? You've lost me, Motan. Long lost me. How would you feel about text adventures? It would have to be really painfully written stuff to be a punishment game, otherwise it's just reading, and if there's one thing reading does, it makes me yawn quite a lot, it makes me very sleepy. I'm not an avid reader. You ever play any Spyro on stream? No. Never a big fan of Spyro, but during that generation of gaming, I was more of a Nintendo child than a Sony ween. It was around the PlayStation 2 that I migrated over to PlayStation. And Spyro, I don't think it's very good anyway. I've seen it played and it doesn't look very appealing. Give me some Banjo-Kazooie over some Spyro any day. I love Spyro, says Saved World. I'm hard-pressed to see what there is to love now. If I had nostalgia for it, probably. But I'd probably feel the same way about Banjo-Kazooie. If I were playing it now, I'd just be, what is this nonsense, and why does Kazooie keep making this horrible noise? We had a PlayStation 2 to play movie DVDs. I played so much Spyro 2 as a kid on it. Spyro 2 was on the PS2? I always thought Spyro was a PS1 title. I had a fair share of PlayStation 2 games, but at that point I wasn't really playing collectathons. You know, once you play Donkey Kong 64, you don't really want to play collectathons again for a long time. That is a bad game, that. The PS1 oh, of course. I would have been playing it on the PS2, back when backwards compatibility was an expected thing. And why wouldn't it be? You wouldn't expect a Super Nintendo to play NES games, the slot's different, but when it's just taking a disc, why in the world wouldn't it play it? I didn't have many. I had maybe a dozen PlayStation 1 games, but at that point, you know, why not play PS2 games? They're better. Play Resident Evil 4. Play Resident Evil Outbreak. Play every Resident Evil game. They're all good, except for the bad ones. Like Code Veronica X. I had a lengthy discussion about the concept of hating with a friend. He doesn't using the term hating because it feels too absolute to him. It's a really easy word to say, but it's a little too strong. That said, ease of convenience often wins out. Man, this is slow. I don't think I'm playing that wrong, but it's very slow and it's not very hands-on. I guess I've been spoilt by Magic Research 2. That game is great. Oh no, not more Outbreak. I've been toying with the idea of playing more Outbreak. It's been quite a long time. The problem with Outbreak is it's a set thing. Right? I already know every mission, and I'm really good at the game. So it doesn't really afford much of a new experience, but sometimes just an old known experience is fine. I would like to play with more people that are new to the game, but it's not very user-friendly to set up. I have a complete download package. You can just download and set it up, but it's still, you know, like 8 different steps to jump through to get it working properly. And that's 6 more steps than people are usually happy to do. Especially for something unknown like that. Magic Research 1 or 2? 2. I didn't play 1, but 2 is great. Outbreak randomizer when? So Outbreak is always partially randomized. Item locations, including some key items, do get randomized. But it's not very deeply randomized. I created a single download link with the emulator and game already completely set up. It worked fine, says Kaiser. At least for my friend group. Your friend group played Outbreak? That's pretty cool. Now, you know, you Florida people are alright. These costs are skyrocketing, but the production of cookies is not keeping up. And what was it? 1 trillion cookies to really go for a next level prestige. You've been on this run for 2 hours 41 minutes. Have I, buggery? My timer says I've been at this for 1 hour 48. Wait, what does Steam say? Steam says I played for 86 minutes. Time warp? I'm pretty sure we didn't do the time warp. It didn't take an hour to set up. I didn't play this game at all, I just launched it, captured it, and then started streaming it. I guess the real dream is they either remake Outbreak or they make that kind of game again. The problem is they made Resident Evil Resistance, and it was so bad. It was that game they freely bundled with Resident Evil 3 Remake because they had no confidence in it. And rightfully so, it was awful. I did see an old person I used to play Outbreak with on it, though. Which was kind of cool. And they seem to really like the new game, but no, it's bad. It's really bad. Is there some upgrade or unlock which gives interest on cookies, or is my mind making that up? I don't know. What about these fortune tellers? My banks will be more efficient. Okay. Peanut butter cookies for 2%. Double the farms, double the factories. These are costing me lots and lots of cookies. Come to think of it, why are cookies also the currency? That was another nice thing in Magic Research. They did have various different currencies in it. There was money, but there was 12 different kinds of mana. You start out with 4 and unlock more. Monsters also drop something... what was it called? Like Monstrum or something. And there's experience, but experience applies to your familiars, not you. And you had familiars now, that was cool. Sending out your familiars to battle, having them battle alongside you, choosing the right one for the right fight. I suppose that's the one thing that makes this more punishing. Having played a much better incremental game, playing Cookie Clicker is grim. Although I just noticed right now, it says the amount of cookies that you have over on the top bar of the window. You can't see it, we don't capture the top bar, but it's pretty cool. Imagine my surprise when my PlayStation 3 couldn't play PS1 games. And not PlayStation 2 games. I bought a Burnout game for the PlayStation 2 and I couldn't play it. Oh, that is sad. Don't know why they dropped backwards compatibility. I guess Sony at that point were already well aware that the PlayStation 3 has no games. So they wanted to solidify their case more by saying it won't even have PlayStation 2 games. But that's how it goes, yeah. PlayStation 3 had one game, Demon's Souls. PlayStation 5 has one game, Demon's Souls. Sony is such a circus. Guess that's what moving to California does to you. Happens quite a few times with old games on Steam. You can buy, but not play it. I did actually find that there is a report function on store pages on Steam. And you can report games as being broken. I don't know how seriously those are handled, and I doubt you get a response on the matter. But I finally used it because Patrician 4, Calypso patched some of their old games to lock the game behind a launcher where you need to create an account to play. I was very unhappy about that, so I switched my review to negative. But I also reported the game, because there is nothing on the store page saying that a third-party account is needed. But, like I said, I don't expect anything to come of that. Just doing my part. I suspect that kind of reporting is why the latest EDF, Earth Defense Force game, had to swiftly put onto their store page that they require a third-party Epic account to play. I'm actually not a fan of EDF, which is a shame. The original gangsters play it. Callum plays it, Lucky plays it. I think Tandy plays it. Even Lucas plays it. But I just couldn't get into EDF. Did you finish Patrician 4? Oh, I have finished Patrician 4 multiple times. I have run 2 perfect runs of that game. One on normal mode and one on hard mode. I have left a notice to myself, and the notice says, never do this again. Because it's a big old waste of time. But at least I have the save there. I can load up the save every now and then and appreciate my perfectly harmonious Patrician setup. Click on the golden cookie. There's a golden cookie. I think you're seeing things. You've gone mad, Disarray J. Mad by cookies. At this point, I don't think my clicking is really adding anything to it, is it? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... No, it is actually speeding up with this. Still has a reasonable output then. was under the big cookie in the chocolate milk. Okay, well, I was paying negative attention to it. I'm not even looking at the game, that's the thing, I'm looking at chat. Why would I look at the game? It's a static screen for about 70% of it. Warble asks a pertinent question. What is a way to get a game on the punishment list? Direct message on Discord? Any way you get the message to me is a way to get the game onto the list, as long as I can verify that you're in some way a supporter of the channel. Some people are subscribers to the channel. A rare few subscribe on Patreon and then add a punishment game through that. But in this case, you could even tell me here. It would be no real overhead for me to add it. I actually have a Discord channel that has information for me, but people usually just use it to drop me. No, it's an ask anything thing, but people usually just ask me to add a punishment game. Point is, any way you get the message to me, I will add it, and I will confirm to you that it has been added. Probably. Paxam says it's an audience punishment game. I don't think so. I don't think it's actively painful to watch this. Granted, I'm not watching it, so what can I say, but it doesn't have any of the ingredients that previous punishment games for viewers has had. What has been previous amazing punishment games for viewers? Let's review the list again, shall we? Of course, I went and got rid of my browser capture. I need to bring it back and get rid of all of that superfluous information. Nobody needs to see that. There we go, flashbang. Which of these have been specifically punishing for viewers? Maybe go away from the really ancient ones. Let's start out at about 100 or so. Kane Lynch 2 Dog Days had such garbage writing, that had to have been painful for anyone watching. I liked Speed Racist, it was a bit punishing, but a funny game. Oh man, Draken 2. That was a chore for everyone involved, that must have been pretty bad. This must have been horrifying to watch. If you know Link to the Past or Super Metroid or like either of those games, that was about 30 hours of me moaning about them because I really don't like either of those games. And I got these games on release for the Super Nintendo back in 1990 something. Didn't like them then, still don't like them now, even worse when randomized. I think Fire Warrior was more funny for viewers, it wasn't very fun or funny for me. What was Nightcry? Wasn't that a really subpar horror game? Cool World. That was probably funny to watch, it was painful to play, miserable game to play. Candice the Baby. Until you play this, you have no idea how incredibly trick one's life can be. Hunt Down the Freeman was horrible for all involved, but what was truly punishing for viewers? Why do I have Incredibly Trick Lifestyle twice? Was it played twice, or did I forget to put in the sequel's name here? No, I think I played it once, and then a follow-up punishment was to finish the game. Fallout. Yeah, there's the other Candice the Baby game. Yeah, the hot pot thing, and another good reason that Mystery of the Missing Hot Pot Recipe was the poster child and continues to be the poster child for an amazing punishment game. Horrible for viewers, had hideous high-pitched screeching sound effects, the kettle was on. Also the horrible Cory storylines. Civ 6 was punishing for me. I did not like Civilization, but I'm not a known Civ fan, am I? Right, we barely have 2 minutes left to round out this game, so let's click that cookie and do this. I gotta say, poor show by, what was it, Battle Tank? Battle Unit? Battle something. Submitting cookie clicker, they clearly don't know a good punishment game. Fortune smiled on them, but that might be the only thing smiling. And on top of that, Darth Air with his 6 random dudes in a dungeon. Well, not every stream is going to be amazing, and in a way the lackluster ones serve to make the better ones shine. But hopefully next time we get some punishment games rolled, They are truly painful experiences. It's not that I'm there to enjoy the pain, but knowing that a painful experience is around the corner really drives me to bring out my A game for the weekly one-shot. It can be cleansing in a way. JJ Nitro says, have you looked at Starstruck Vagabond? It recently came out. If you liked Stardew, I don't. And at least the start of Graveyard Keeper, it seems like a good long play candidate. Okay, I think I have looked at Starstruck Vagabond, and I took one look at it and went, okay, someone's trying to cash in on Stardew, and it doesn't look very good. Stardew itself is not a way to drag me in, right? I love Rune Factory. Stardew came along and said, what if we made Rune Factory, but it's really boring? And they succeeded. And it's beloved by so many, and fair play to them, but it's not my kind of game. Lifeline was a good watch. Go to bed. Okay, I'll go outside. How you're meant to tell Rio to check the bathrobe without her going to the bathroom, I do not know. I tried to be as eloquent as possible. Rio, investigate bathrobe. Bathroom? Okay. No, the bathrobe. Outside? Sure. No, the bathrobe! My sign is no parking. Let's move on. That game was a very specific kind of torture. A torture that I'd love to see other people have to go through now that I think about it. It was very easy to set up. Do not be fooled by Dark Young's lies. It was real plug-and-play stuff. If you want to give back to the community, then perhaps your own run of Lifeline is the way to do that. Let everybody laugh and you have a miserable time. That way more people are happy than you are sad. Oh man, yeah, let's not talk about the vending machines. Tarkin says, I found it amazing to watch. You've been laughing a lot in the streams. I couldn't help but notice you woke up the neighbors laughing at Project Zomboid. I hope that game is eventually finished and good. It does show promise, it just also shows way too much. Alright, we've been at this for over 2 hours. It's been a pretty miserable experience. I may or may not get my money back on either of these. But at least I finally played Cookie Clicker. It's an idle game, and it's not one that really appeals to me at all. And I gotta once again plug Magic Research 2. Much better game. Go and play that. If you like idle games, then maybe it won't be for you, because it's not really idling. It's incremental, sure, but... Anyway, I'm done here. Tell you what, I'm gonna go and get myself some lunch. I'm gonna chill out down by the beach. Will there be another stream today to make up for this lackluster content? I have no idea. If I was going to put a percentage chance on it, I'd put it at something like 40%. So don't bet on it. So let's hope the next time we get some punishment games, they're a lot better, / more punishing than this. And until we are back for that or whatever else, it's a cheers and cheerio.